I'm titling this video Ich bin nackt, and except for the sunglasses and hat, I am nackt or naked. Now I have composed my list. Now it's that center column. The one on the other side is one I covered this morning. To see the very last one there is Sarah and her stalker, and I've covered that too many times. And Sarah's probably pissed at me. Sarah, if you want to meet up with me, sit down with me, and give me a piece of your mind, look, I'd sit there and peacefully let you give me a piece of your mind and wouldn't object one little bit. I'd sit there and just listen to you and say, well, yeah, you're probably right. But Sarah, you're perfectly willing to give me a piece of your mind, and I'll be a gentleman and agree with you. And then I'll say, well, look, I agree with you at this point, but you're wrong here, or whatever the situation requires. I don't know. I'm just saying if Sarah wants to meet up with me, she's certainly welcome to. Now, I said again, I am nackt or naked, except for the hat and glasses. And if Sarah wants to meet up with me, if either Sarah, now if Wonder Hussy wants to meet up with me, and we go to a hot spring, someplace that's clothing optional, yeah, I could get knocked again. But otherwise, I'd probably have clothes on if I'm meeting up with somebody. But anyway, let's see. Now let me cover the first item on this, or second item actually, on this list for it's a DIY video, or a DIY item with the necessary caution. But anyway, let's say you got an oxygen sensor. Now, all the vehicles, computer-controlled vehicles, back probably mid-'80s and later, have oxygen sensors on them. Let's say you got one that's completely rusted, you can't get out. You've got an end-wrench on over there, like 22 millimeter or 7-inch or something like that. You're about ready to wear the quarters off for the steel. Now, if you very, very carefully take a torch and get this thing glowing red hot, and then get in it with a special oxygen sensor socket, and then kick it with everything you got. And that worked for me. Actually, a friend of mine got in there because all he had was like a 3/8 ratchet, and that one had about a 2-foot handle on it. I think he got in there and kicked it with his foot, but it actually came loose, so we got it out. That's a common technique used by gearheads, a combination of heating and setting up a penetrant like WD-40 or with other penetrants, combination of hitting and oil will eventually get something to break loose. Now, the necessary caution with that is you get in there with a torch. You got to remember, you got gasoline lines, you got, it's probably pieces of cardboard and maybe straw you picked up, from the road. You got to remember this stuff. You can set fire to the underside of your car. So, not for morons, not for people that they don't know what they're doing. But if you know what you're doing, if you know how to use a torch and not set something on fire, take that oxygen sensor, get it going red hot, then put a socket on there, and then knock it loose. That worked for me. Anyway, that's the DIY video. Next thing I'm going to cover, her name is Michelle. Her YouTube channel is Miles to Myself. I've done a few videos for her. Now she's taking off. Now she's from the eastern United States. She's taking off early. Now, one thing you could do, probably not now, but if you ever want to come back, now they make, you can buy these on Amazon. If you type like 12-volt DC RV evaporative cooler, something like that. Now these are made to sit on a desk and cool. But if you take these and mount them to the side, now they have a little deal where you can actually pour water in there. But if you modify these with a float, you can take like a regular evaporative cooler float. You can take like a 5-gallon water container, put it up on the roof, and then gravity feed these floats. Now I've drawn that out. When I've drawn them out, nobody pays attention. If somebody specifically requests me to draw up the plans for one of these, I'll do it. I'll be glad to do it, but I'm not going to do it unless I know somebody actually wants the plan to do these. But you take a 12-volt DC, you got a 12-volt blower, a 12-volt pump in there, but they're made to be hand-fed. Now, if you take one of these, like I said, and modify it for a gravity feed system, it won't be perfect, but it will work. I said you could now, like Michelle could extend her stay with like one of these RV evaporative coolers, so you could spend a couple more weeks out in the heat and tolerate it, and delay her trip back to the eastern United States until she's sure that the snow is all gone. Just tossing it out there. I'm pretty sure Michelle is watching my videos. I might get to a handful of other YouTube content creators because this is directed to some of them. Let me get to, let's see, reincarnation. I'm going to cover, but I'm going to get to that later. Now, Sarah in Tune, that's her YouTube channel. Well, her name is Sarah. She does automotive. She does 2 types of automotive. The first type is restoration of much older stuff. So do complete frame up restoration. I mean, a lot more than I would ever do. Now I'd take something, maybe I have to rebuild an engine to get it going. Yeah, I would rebuild it and pretty much go stock. I might take an engine and then put an RV cam on there. I might do a few things like that, but I'm not going to do frame up restoration. But that's a matter of personal choice on when you're restoring a vehicle. You got a bunch of different ways you can do it. But anyway, the other type of automotive videos that Sarah will make are these ones where different manufacturers will give her different vehicles to test out, and she always does this what she calls a bolstering test, where she's to me, I don't think that's actually what she's doing. I think she wants a lot of the guys, especially the older guys, that appreciate this type of thing. The older guys like to watch younger chicks getting their jiggly bits, all jiggling and gyrating and all that. Now, you get what I'm talking about. And I think that's exactly what Sarah's trying to do. She wants guys to see her jiggly bits. I'm not gonna. Listen, I'm trying to keep this channel kid friendly. If you read right into the lines, you don't have to read between the lines. You read right. Well, you're reading the jiggly bits. That's for Sarah in tune. Next thing I'm gonna cover is JP videos. His latest, well, not his latest video, because I think his video was from a week or so ago. He was in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, showing some of the interesting things in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. Another one of those towns that the coal industry is not completely dead, but it's dying out because coal is just coal is not as widely used as it once was. But anyway, I was talking about these buildings that would have these. In front of the buildings, they would have these access. The doors. These places would have basements where you could, like coal chutes. You could dump the coal down in there, and then cover these. But anyway, now this was a story back, only indirectly related to this, as you'll see here in a second. Now this was in the National Enquirer back in the mid '70s. If you're around back in the mid '70s when National Enquirer, if you remember National Enquirer, some of their stories they would run were more believable than others. And this particular story to me was not only believable but pretty interesting. But anyway, this guy was going through this town. It had been raining for days and days. It was real super muddy, and his tire, one of his tires had sunk through the pavement. It was all muddy, and he up and looked down. And you could see where it completely gone through the pavement, and you can see a very small room. There's only a tiny hole there. So I think he pulled his car out of there, and him and another guy had got a shovel, and they started digging into this, what was the basement in front of this building. Then they lowered them. They got the hole big enough that they could go through there. And and this particular room, they had, like I said, they had loaded themselves down with some ladders in this room. And this room was all dusty from not having been used for a long time. So this was back in the mid '70s. And these two guys could tell this room hadn't been used hadn't been used in many years because it's all dusty. But it was an old bar that had been locked away for a long time, and they saw some stairs and the door. I guess this door was locked from the other side. These guys they went up the stairs and busted through this door, and they saw this bartender came give him a funny look, and the bartender said, "Where did you two guys come from?" And these guys said, "Well, did you know it was a basement under your bar?" And we just we came through there from the street. And this guy goes, "I've been working here for 15 years. Every day I look at that locked door. I had no idea where the hell that door went. But it turned out this building had been there from the speakeasy days, like of the 1930s or 1940s, when alcohol was illegal in the United States. This bar had been there. It's been locked up from the days of speakeasy. I thought that was kind of an interesting story, not really related to anything JP, other than the fact it was a basement in front of a building. I just thought that was interesting. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover is I haven't watched this video yet. Just saw her title. It's Laura. Her YouTube channel is Nigella for me, and the title is on reincarnation. And I'm sure Laura is watching my videos, from the content of some of her some of her videos because I don't think she would ever do a reincarnation video. So just asking, I said, again, I have not watched the video, just saw the title, and I will watch her video because I do find Laura's videos interesting, and I do. I would hope that she would mention me, and maybe she has the latest video. I don't know, but anyway, Laura, you could say something like, "I got this. I got this idea from James Gudman's latest video, one of his videos. Or not, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. A couple things. Now, Laura, I don't plan to visit Albuquerque in the next few days, but if I ever make it over there, would you want to meet up with me? Would you want to make a collab video? I'm not going to lose any sleep over one way or the other. Maybe you'd say, well, James, you're a perfect stranger. I got no desire to meet up with you. Or you might say, well, James, yeah, maybe we could sit down and find something interesting to make a video on. I don't know. I don't know what your feelings are on that. I'm not going to be offended or lose any sleep over whatever comment you're going to make. But let me get to reincarnation. Now, I think you all know my views on reincarnation. I certainly believe in it. Now, there are some that believe, especially with us New Agers, that Jesus had actually believed in and taught reincarnation, and then it got taken out of the Bible. Now, the first thing I'd heard that reincarnation had gotten taken out of the Bible, at the Council of Nicaea, because Emperor Constantine, that's the guy that helped establish Christianity as a state religion, the Roman state religion, like in 326 to 329. But anyway, that Constantine had found some aspects of his former life that he really didn't want to get out there. Now, I watched a video here on YouTube a couple of weeks ago that another reason that reincarnation might not have been included in the Bible. Now, if you're a Christian, a hardcore Christian, you believe you've got to go to church to, and accept Jesus to become saved, to go to heaven. But if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe that as many of us New Agers believe, many of us more spiritual ones that follow a slightly different path, that you're responsible for your own soul. You don't go to church, but you have to. There's certain things that you're responsible for the evolution of your soul. You don't need to have the church. Now, there's the idea that the church found out that if you believe in reincarnation, you don't have to have the church to. You don't have to go to church to to be saved, more or less. You're not saved in the Christian sense, but you don't need a church to save your soul, to speak. That's not quite the way I want to say it, but you get what I'm talking about. You don't really need a church, and the church found out. The church thought, well, look, we really need to keep us going. We really need to have people attending services. So they dropped all reference to reincarnation. Now, I'm not saying that exactly the way I want to say it. Now I'm going to sit down and figure out exactly the way I want to say that so it comes out right, so that people can more easily understand what I'm saying. But I'm asking my viewers, what do you take? Could you accept reincarnation? Maybe there's a few of the hardcore atheists out there that believe that we're just meat puppets. Maybe we're just meat sacks, mindless, soulless meat sacks. Could you accept reincarnation if I presented it to you in the right way? I don't know. Just tossing it out there. And for Laura, Nigella for me. Love your chick. Love your videos. Let me know if you want to meet up with me or not. I'm not going to lose your sleep either way. Again. Okay. Ciao. Goodbye. Con Dios. Bye.